Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a 2022 action platformer that was developed by HAL Laboratory and published by Nintendo. How Long to Beat gives me an average completion time of about 10.5 hours, which leaves me not far off with a completion time of 11 hours. Just like The Legend of Zelda, I've been a fan of the Kirby series since I was a kid, with my most memorable games being both Kirby Superstar Ultra and Kirby Mass Attack. Kirby has actually found its way into my life, especially in my car and in my office. Regardless, if you're interested in games that are like Kirby and the Forgotten Land, take a look at games like Super Mario Galaxy, the legendary Starfy, and Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series. After all, I'm Vivix Tales, this is Backlog worthy. Let's talk about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. The gameplay for Kirby and the Forgotten Land is pretty simple and hasn't really changed since Kirby's Adventure on the NES. It's a lot of platforming and fighting enemies or bosses, and there isn't really much to say past that. The main mechanic is the copyability system, and man, do I really enjoy it. In my past playthroughs of the series, I've always enjoyed playing as either the Sword Kirby or Cutter Kirby, and nothing has really changed for me with this game. This game also added 2 new copy abilities, which are the Drill and Ranger abilities. Even with it being a mechanic as old as time, I feel like it never really gets old because there's always a good handful of abilities to choose from. They also introduced evolved copy abilities, which allow the copy abilities to become stronger versions of themselves. This was something I thought was a great add to the game since it was something that hasn't been seen before in the series, unless you count the Ultra abilities from Kirby's Return to Dreamland. As much as I enjoyed all of these new abilities and their evolutions, I really do wish that all of the copy abilities earned a third form, just like the Hammer and Sword abilities did. Mouthful mode is another new mechanic that was added to Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and just Kirby in general. Instead of fully inhaling objects, Kirby will stretch to take the shape of the object inhaled. Honestly, this mechanic may not seem like much, but it really made for some interesting puzzles, along with some interesting fights. Due to this game being more targeted towards a younger audience, the story is a bit simplistic to go into as deep as detail as I would like to. In Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Kirby and all the Waddle Dees are thrown into a new world by a huge storm containing rifts. These rifts would be the reason why Kirby has access to the Mouthful mode mechanic. With Kirby waking up within a world unfamiliar to him, his goal is to save all the Waddle Dees who are now trapped in cages by this world's inhabitants. With the first cage broken, Kirby meets his new friend Elfilin, and together they save the rest of the Waddle Dees. Throughout the game, Kirby and Elfilin do their best to save the Waddle Dees from the cages they've been forced into, until they come across King Dedede. After defeating him, Dedede still manages to cap Kirby's friend, and now it's his job to get him back. Honestly, there's no doubt about it. The world of Kirby and the Forgotten Land is beautiful. I've always loved the pixel art that came with the 2D side-scrollers like Kirby Superstar Ultra and Kirby's Adventure, but this jump to a fully fleshed out 3D environment felt amazing. The colors, the design, just every detail about this new world is something that I felt did well for this game. This might just be me, but you can tell how much love and consideration went into creating this jump into a new medium that HAL Laboratory hasn't done with Kirby before. When it comes to the main characters of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, there's really not too many, which surprised me to be honest. I even consulted Nintendo's official website for the game, and it gave me a very short list. Kirby is everyone's favorite pink puffball. With the ability to copy abilities from enemies, there's sure to be a playstyle for you. If a cute and adorable main character is something you're looking for, I've got news for you. There's no need to look further. Elfilin is a new character to the Kirby series. He's a friend that Kirby makes at the beginning of the Forgotten Land, and that's about it. But there's no way that this cute little guy is someone who has some deep, dark lore and turns into the final boss like they do in every Kirby game, right? There's also Bandana Waddle Dee, but he only shows up in 2-player mode, which is something I never played. The last Kirby game that I played before this was Kirby Superstar Ultra, which was a good 10-something years ago. Seeing Kirby jump from 2D to 3D was something that I enjoyed seeing with my own eyes. I did really feel like the graphics were very polished, especially with this being the first fully 3D game in the series. I am a fan of cartoony or childish graphics to begin with, so even if I'm not the target demographic they were looking for, they still managed to slip their fingers into my wallet. The music in Kirby and the Forgotten Land is honestly something else. It might be the fact that I hadn't played a game in the series since I was like 12 or 13, but I feel like the music has gone in a different direction since I remember. There's still the chill and relaxing music that I recall from years back, but now there's hints of jazz and rock, which I feel fits nicely in this game. This is the kind of music that I would have playing in the background while writing one of these videos, or just to have in the background as I work on homework. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a game that I'm happy I grabbed on a whim, as it brought me back to some memories of enjoying the series when I was younger. This game earns an 8 out of 10 easily, as it does many things right. If you have 11 hours to spare somewhere in your life, I feel like this game would make that time worthwhile. And if you don't have the time to play it, well, that's what your backlog's for.